Hello and welcome back, children. This is your friend, your mentor, Akash. Children, earlier in the previous tutorial, we've already studied about finite verbs. Now, I can define in short finite verbs as verbs that have got certain limitations. What are the limitations? The first limitation being that they always follow the verb. And of course, second, of course, not the limitation, but a judgment rule that when a verb becomes or when does a verb become a finite verb. So the second condition is, or the second situation or the second scenario is that if they are able to decide the tense of a sentence, then that is definitely a finite verb, or those are the finite verbs. If I talk about non-finite verbs, there is one simple differentiation, that a non-finite verb will completely be unable to decide the tense in a sentence. So it's a very simple differentiation, very simple distinction, right? So let's move ahead with the concept of non-finite verbs. Now, children, non-finite verbs are not verbs. These are verb forms. What are the types? What are the forms of verbs? What are the inheritations that these verbs can take? What are the inheritances that these verbs can take? Now, first is we've got the present form, then we've got the simple past form, and then we've got the past participle form. Apart from these three, we've got a continuous form, that is the present participle form. So you don't have to get confused. I'm giving you the declaration again. The first is simple present form, where the verb is used in its base form. तो पहला होता है simple present form. That means if I say talk is simple present. Then we move to simple past. The talk changes to talked. And then the third form, that again is talked, and the third form is actually the third category is known as past participle form. All right. Now, apart from this, we also have got an constructive idea, that we use an ing as a suffix to every verb. Talking. So what is that talking? It's called present participle. All right. So this is how it goes. So the first is simple present. The second is simple past. The third is past participle. And we've got the fourth one, that is the present participle, where we use an ing at the end. So non-finite verbs are verb forms, but again are incapable of deciding a tense in a sentence. All right. And the next is non-finite verbs are independent of any subject. You may use the non-finite verb itself as a subject. I'll give you a short example, a small example to understand. If I say baking is something that I love, so here the subject is baking. And how did I get to that word baking? It's bake plus ing becomes baking, baking. Now, how do I get to that, or how did I get to that? Because a simple rule says a verb, that is bake over here, it can be changed into its continuous form, that is the present participle form. But I've not used it as a verb, I've used it as a noun over here. All right. If I say a baked cake tastes better, so baked is the third form out here, a baked cake. The third form is past participle form, and here it's being used as an adjective. So this is the innovation that we're going to learn under the concept headed by the term नॉन फाइनाइट वर्ब्स. तो कैसे हम वर्ब्स को डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स में मोल्ड करके किस तरीके से अलग अलग वर्ब्स नहीं लेकिन अलग अलग तरीके से यूज़ करते हैं. तो एक वर्ब का डिफरेंट फॉर्म हम एडजेक्टिव बना देंगे, इसी तरीके से एक वर्ब का डिफरेंट फॉर्म हम नाउन बना देंगे. ऑलराइट. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ आई से अ स्विमिंग कॉस्ट्यूम, swim is a verb. Swimming is the continuous form, the present participle form of swim, but I'm not going to use swimming as present continuous form or the present participle form of the verb swim. मैं इसको verb की तरह use ही नहीं करूँगा. If I use the word swimming in the phrase called, or in the clause called, a swimming costume, so a swimming costume, so we are actually talking about a costume. So the noun concerned here is costume, whereas swimming is an adjective. ऑलराइट. सो अभी इससे पहले हमने ing फॉर्म बेकिंग जब यूज किया था, बेकिंग इज व्हाट आई लव द मोस्ट और कुकिंग इज व्हाट आई लव द मोस्ट. यहाँ पर कुकिंग या बेकिंग नाउन की तरह यूज हो रहा है, लेकिन स्विमिंग कॉस्ट्यूम बोलूँ तो स्विमिंग यहाँ पर एक एडजेक्टिव की तरह यूज हो रहा है. सो इफ आई टेक यू बैक टू माई प्रीवियस ट्यूटोरियल्स और माई the frontline tutorials, I still remember that I very clearly apparently told you that every word when placed differently will behave differently. तो word की position decide करती है कि वो किस तरीके का behavior दिखाएगा. So for the time being, we are to focus on the screen that gives us the info that non-finite verbs are not verbs, but they are verb forms and they are incapable of deciding a tense. And the second info is that they are independent of any subject. You might use the verb, the non-finite verb itself as a subject. Let's move ahead. Here are the three categories under which we have to study the non-finite verbs. The first is infinitives, the second is gerunds, and the third is participles. We've already discussed the present participle, जिसमें हम ing लगाते हैं, and the past participle, जिसमें हम third form का use करते हैं. So let's see what it is. Infinitives. This is the easiest one to deal with. The moment you use a word called to followed by a verb. तो जैसे ही हम एक इस वर्ड को, इस preposition to को हम यूज करते हैं एक verb के साथ, so the verb will always stand in its base form, that is the simple present form, the verb itself, right? So let's see a few examples, and this type of combination is known as the infinitive combination. Now see, he has to report at 9 a.m. to his manager. Now he has to report. To plus report in its first form, that is the base form. The game needs to work uninterrupted. To work. Alright? There is no reason to justify war. Lord Shiva had to drink poison to avoid an apparent massacre. You need to submit your application to the principal. The company has to abide by the rules governing the trade policy. Now, children, what you see here is an arrangement of the preposition to along with a verb in its base form. So the moment you use this combination, this combo itself is known as infinitives. So the verb used here is an infinitive. All right. So it's a very simple categorization. Now, children, this is just a part of information that we are backing our linguistic skills with. So if I'm speaking something, I should know what am I speaking about and what am I speaking exactly. तो अगर मैं आपसे कुछ बात कर रहा हूँ as an English teacher, the moment I write a sentence, I should know a variety of, I should have a variations of explanations to the same. So if there is one sentence, if you ask me, so what is this sentence all about? I should know what type of sentence is it? How has it been formed? Then I should tell you what are the different weapons, the elementary weapons that are used in framing a sentence. Every word is a different weapon in a sentence. Every word is a different tool in a sentence. So this is how you have to learn first to write and then build confidence in speaking. Let's move ahead. We've got gerunds as the second category here. Now, again, these are the verb forms. Those are used as nouns. All right. So let's see how do we use it. I just told you that baking is my favorite activity. Cooking is what I love. Right. So let's see what exactly it is. The continuous means present participle form. That is ing at the end. तो प्रेजेंट पार्टिसिपल बोलते ही समझ में आ जाना चाहिए कि हमने ing किसी भी वर्ब के आगे लगाना है. That's a basic rule. All right. And if I use it as a noun, कैसे यूज करेंगे? The position decides what exactly a word will function as. Right. Okay, we've got some examples of gerunds. Baking a cake is an extremely easy process, right? You only have to put the cake in a mold, the batter, in the mold, and you have to preset it or preheat the oven or the micro before you actually bake it or put into baking. And then you have to set it for at a certain temperature for a certain tenure. Okay. So the easiest affair, the second example is the easiest affair for a well-timed batsman is hitting a six. So although I've used all capital letters here, it's only to highlight. We don't usually do this in English or in any language at all. But this is just to highlight that these are being used as nouns. These are being used as nouns. Now we know that nouns can be used either as subjects or can be used as objects. All right. So here some are being used as subjects and some are being used as objects that we've already discussed earlier. Third example, he has been appointed in the office for folding newspapers. Here, folding. What do you think? What do you believe folding is in this? Folding newspapers. You're doing something to the newspapers. What could it be? Here, here it is an adjective. The fourth example, God have announced his wedding on June 20th. All right. So wedding here is a noun. How do you differentiate? Now, in the third example, we see that folding, we are referring to it as nouns. But if I use any noun after the ing form, that simply means that this ing has immediately become an adjective. Very simple to understand. The moment an ing form of a verb is followed by a noun, it becomes an adjective. Okay, fifth example. Talking is his favorite activity. Frying needs a lot of cooking oil. Tampering with the ball is an offense in cricket. Do you mind me asking you a question on general affairs? So these are all examples of gerunds. Now, what are gerunds? The present participle forms of any of all the verbs or of any verbs that are actually used as nouns and, of course, not as verbs. It's very simple to understand. So, children, we will continue the next and we'll start with the participle forms, of course, here. So, this is it till now, and I wish you a good health and, of course, a healthy living. God bless you. Thank you so much.